Hey everybody, it's Steve,
Hey, it's Blake.
and we're here to have a game chat all about Rive Ultimate Edition on the Nintendo Switch. All right, so Rive Ultimate Edition is here on the Nintendo Switch, and several of you have probably been waiting for it for a long time. Maybe you've already downloaded it and you're wanting to know what our impression is of it. Blake and I have had a few weeks with the game, and so some of you might not even know what the game is about. You're just like, what's this? What's Rive all about? So essentially, it's a twin stick shooter. It's much more than a twin stick shooter because there's much more there. But you're piloting this like spider tank thing, and so sometimes you're flying around, a lot of times you're on the ground, you're jumping around and everything. You're able to like hack and control your enemies. You're able to upgrade and with special attacks and all that sort of thing. And so there's like this main storyline that you're going through, but there's also speed runs and challenges and online leaderboards. It comes from the company that brought you Toki Tori with Two Tribes. Big fans of that game,
Mm,
and this is kind of like their last hurrah in a way. So it's kind
yeah.
of sad that this is it. But Blake, what's your initial impressions of the game before we kind of get into the details? What do you
Oh
think so
yeah.
far?
Oh yeah. I was talking to you about it a little bit, but we were talking about the the level of difficulty right off the bat almost. It's like it kind of punishes you after so long. You get to a certain place where you just have to spend a lot of time repeating yourself
Yeah.
over and over. I do like that there's like all these little checkpoints and like it seems like it saves it for you in a
Hmm.
pretty good spots, but and then if you die it's okay, but it just feels like some of the enemies are like crazy kamikaze enemies just coming
Yeah.
swarming at you and they don't mind blowing up right in front of you kind of thing. So yeah, it's kind of it's an intense thing, but it's a lot of fun too. I really am glad that I have it on the Switch. It's a nice thing to pick up and play and do a little bit of a fun, relaxing almost, but also a very difficult
Relaxing.
thinking
Ha-
about going through.
I'm
Yeah, right.
interested in
Yeah,
how you
kind of
relax with
experiment.
this game.
Right. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, you don't get much time to just like relax. You get more of it as like, oh, I get to waste a little bit of time, I
There you
guess.
go.
Yeah, there you go. That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the difficulty of this game is definitely. I mean, it's there for sure. And I think I don't know what do you compare it to. Maybe I mean, it's not the same type of a game as like a Mega Man, but it's probably the same kind of difficulty as Mega Man. It's not impossible, but it's definitely difficult. And a lot of times you'll be trying stuff, figure it out, and then have to go back and do it again after you die a few times. You're like, okay, I got it this time. I finally figured out the patterns and the way I need to shoot this certain enemy down in the right time. But then sometimes it's not the same every time you play it. They come from different angles, and you're like, oh
Oh,
man,
yes. And if you miss one,
oh
you might be in a lot of trouble
yeah,
because that one's gonna like hit you and it's gonna move you further away, and then you're gonna run into something else, and it's just like, well, I gotta start this over. Let me just
yeah.
die and start this round over again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's many times I'm just like, yep, just give up, give up.
That's right.
I'm glad that
Right.
they do have the checkpoints in there though, because that
Oh,
if it
yes.
was, I think it probably if they didn't have checkpoints, it'd be to the point where it was too brutal for me to even try it anymore.
Oh,
But with the checkpoints, it keeps me coming back for more and making me think, I can do it this time. I can do it this time.
yes, yeah, yeah. There's these parts too where you're in kind of a bubble. It seems like it's
Yeah,
like a circle and you're like floating around in there. And I felt like those were the toughest for me because
yeah,
you get different things coming from all different sides and you just kind of like swim. And if you fall out of that bubble, you're dead automatically
right.
anyway. So yeah, so it's really like you have to keep your eye on everything going on the screen at that same time. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's an enjoyable experience, but also a very intense, difficult one.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, and I think some of it is it's not. I wouldn't necessarily call it a puzzle game at all, but there are some levels and aspects of different levels that you have to figure out what to do next. It's not just run and gun the whole time. It's like, okay, how do I get to this next part? And there was one very early on, I think, in one of those bubbles, and I was like, how do I even progress? I don't know how to get on. And I had to look around, and eventually I had to hack something in order
Ooh,
to get
yes.
on, but it wasn't completely obvious in the very beginning, and I had to figure that out, and so that was cool because I think a lot of twin stick shooters, I'm used to just running and gunning the whole time, just blowing things up and going, but sometimes the game slows down just a little bit and gives you a little bit of challenge in order to figure out what's next, which I thought was pretty cool.
And you touched on something really good about the game too. An interesting thing is like the hacking aspect is you get to hack these different like robots to also help you shoot or help like heal you a little bit. And sometimes that just saved me. Like in the boss, when you get to have that one healer with you, I'm like, oh, that was like, this is too intense. If I didn't have that, there was no way I was getting by that night. So so it's really true.
So I think the other thing that stood out to me that I don't think I realized before I started playing it was the humor in this game. It's absolutely hilarious at times.
It's true.
I think from the very beginning, I think I mentioned this in our last podcast, but when you blow up the robot from the very beginning, he's like trying to explain to you what's going on, and my initial reaction was blow it up, and then he comes back and he's like, well, as I was saying.
That's right. Oh, it's so true. Oh, it's a good one. Yeah. The guy that's in the little like the craft that we're calling like the pilot of it all. I don't know, but he has some great lines, and other times I'm just like, oh, like that's ridiculous. That's bad. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Some of them are probably crossing some lines here and there, and it's definitely probably not a game for little children. We'll just say it that way.
Yes. Yep. That's right. That's right.
But yeah, even and sometimes it just like makes fun of you when you die, and you're just like, you know what? I put my heart and soul in that level, and I just happen to die. You stop making fun of me right now.
Yes, it's so true. And all the things that are said, like after you die, there's these little like words, and it just like makes you feel so bad. It's just like executed, poor attempt or something like that. And I'm like, oh, come on, I did better than that. So yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I think the game looks fantastic as well. It's probably one of the better. I definitely say it's one of the better indie games on the Switch, and maybe one of the best looking games on the Switch. Period. I think the contrast and I think doing an indoor lighting and everything when you're kind of in the ship sort of stuff. It's just the explosions and all the fire and stuff. It's a really pretty game.
Oh, it really is. I think it's right at like 60 frames per second almost all the time. And then it's like 1080p docked and 720 in your handheld. So it's just like, it's top of the line, picture almost for things. So, which is a great thing in a twin stick shooter there's a lot of things going on at the same time. It's really quite impressive, actually.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because there's so many enemies coming in at different times, and large ones, small ones, and then all this stuff is converging, and I didn't notice any dropped frame rate at all, which is really cool. So, did you get a chance to try the 2-player edition version?
No, I didn't actually. Okay. Did you get to do that?
I didn't.
Okay.
Actually.
I wondered how it would work. What happens is like somebody controls the shooting, right? And somebody controls the movement stuff. And I'm like, I feel like that could get really weird and messy. So
I almost tend to think that it could be worse and maybe even ramp the difficulty up, unless you're just working with someone that you are just on the same level all the time. But I could almost see it as just as many angry words are being said in the game. They're probably also going to be said in your living room at that time.
That's right. That's right. I was much happier to play Snipper Clips with my wife than play Rive. I just think it's going to be a better thing for our relationship. So
there were a couple times that I asked my wife, I was like, do you want to try it? And she's like, I don't know. It doesn't really seem like my thing. I'm like, well, it's probably good for our marriage anyhow. That we
that's probably true. So that's right. I like it. Yeah, that's right. Oh, it's so good.
Man. So anything else about the game that we should talk about?
Yeah. I really was intrigued too. The HD rumble in
Oh
this as
yeah,
well. Like, I feel like they took really good stuff, and it almost when you get hit or things are happening, like you really feel some of that, like in the controllers. And I
yeah.
think this is one of those games that intrigued me with the HD
Hmm.
rumble a little bit too. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I think it was better. I don't know. I'm not been too big of a fan of HD Rumble in handheld mode though, because I feel like it just
Oh,
rumbles too much. Like
yeah,
and like you can hear it, like
yeah.
shaking too much. But on the Pro controller, fantastic. And I didn't
Mhm.
try it with the Joy Cons by themselves, and I'm assuming it probably is a very similar experience. But yeah, it was pretty cool because it was just vibrating on different sides of the controller, and you really felt like you really got hit when the explosions, and that was pretty cool.
Oh yeah. And there's literally like I think two difficulties, right? Because there's like the normal and then
Yeah,
there's the hard.
yeah, I didn't
And
even touch the hard.
I was like, yeah, I couldn't either. Like I'm like there probably should be an easy if there is any of those like new players to twin stick shooters or something like that almost that I kind of wished would have been in the game a little
Yeah,
bit, but I was like, they take it to a place where they're like you've played this kind of game before,
yeah.
you've done this before, and for some of us who have, yeah, it's like
Mhm.
it's a little bit easier for us, but I was like, that can be a difficult like learning thing for a twin stick shooter to just be like, hey, jump in with Rive Ultimate Edition,
Right.
So yeah,
You'll figure it
yeah,
out. Yeah.
yeah, right, that's
Yeah.
right,
You might want to start with like Geometry Wars or something
there
instead.
you go, that's right, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Did you get a chance to how like unlock a lot of different special weapons and stuff?
Actually, I only have, I think three. I think
Okay.
I was able to unlock three different special things.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah. I felt like they did a little bit of different things
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I still kept going back to that same like first one that I had, like
Yep.
all the missiles,
Yep.
and like I
Yep.
just liked that one the most.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I found
uh,
that too because I think the basic game was, I mean, controls were pretty easy to learn and everything, but when it came to the special weapons, I actually found myself not using them that much because I thought it wasn't as intuitive. I had to switch to different ones that I wanted to use and then use another button, and I wish in on a way they were just mapped to different buttons. It would have made a lot more sense than kind of switching back and forth and making sure that I had the right one because in that moment you just
mhm.
need split second decision. Bam,
Oh
that's what I
yes,
want to use, and not having to
so
like,
true.
okay, which button do I hit for that one? Okay, I need to switch to that weapon, and then and like, screw it.
Oh
I
yeah.
just want my main one and the one that I get from the very beginning, and just keep upgrading. And that's all I need.
Oh yes. Oh yes. That's right. That's right. That's what I felt like with it. I was just like, no, I don't have the time to think about switching these. I just need to go with one and
Right.
just keep moving. So it seemed like every time I leveled up or like got to get my car into that
Hmm.
little like area, I was just like, give me more armor,
Yeah.
like protect me a little bit more,
Yeah.
like yeah, I need defense right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah, armor and the things that like bring in like when you're collecting a little further away.
Oh
That's
yes. Yep,
the
that's
magnets
right.
or whatever. Yeah, yep,
Yep, that's right. That's right. I was like, I'll go for those. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
it's very
I can do
true.
pretty good with the basic weapon. Although that's probably people that are really advancing and getting really good at the game are probably the people that can manage all that on the fly. Maybe that's why we're getting stuck and we're not progressing and doing it as fast as other people because we're just not that good. I don't know.
Maybe there you go. I don't know, right? I'm excited. They added the video capture to this game, like with the update, and I
Yeah,
was like, oh man, I hope people start sharing some of those because it could be really cool to see how people are going through some of the levels.
yeah,
And yeah, yeah,
yeah.
it's as much of a I guess kind of like Metroidvania feel, but it is like so linear almost
Hmm.
too that it's like we want you to go this direction and you really know where to go all the time to progress the story,
Yeah.
but it's also like I want to explore a little bit, or I want to kind of see what's up there, that I
Yeah,
couldn't get to or something. So yeah, yeah, it's really interesting like that too.
it
And
is.
then you try to go for something and you fall and die.
Yeah.
And so then you're like, well, that was the wrong choice. That's right.
And
Yeah,
then just add it to the list. It
that's
keeps the
right.
death counter, right? And so I'm like,
Yes.
I don't even
Oh
know
my
how many
goodness.
deaths I have right now. When I first
Oh,
realized it had it, I'm like, oh, of course you have a death counter.
oh
Why
yes.
wouldn't you?
Oh
You just rub it in
yeah.
my face a little more.
Yeah, I haven't even looked at that either. I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
that would be a sad sight for sure. So yeah, yeah,
It is pretty cool though with the online leaderboards and the challenges and everything too. I think that's one of the cool
yeah,
things about the game that you might progress through the main story and everything, but there's still so much there, especially if you are a speedrunner, if you want to
yeah.
challenge your friends and all that stuff. There's so much still there. Which I think is pretty cool to have. It's much more than just the basic game, which can keep people coming back for more and more.
Yeah, yeah. That's really true. That's actually right. Yeah. For a
So
small indie game, it's got a lot
yeah,
of replayability.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
Which is really sad that this is kind of like their swan song. And I'm
I
like, man, you
know,
did
that's
so
so
well.
sad.
Like, do some more.
Oh, so true. I was like, this is beautiful. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's right.
yeah,
Oh yeah. That was sad to hear that. So
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Did you try the single credit mode at all?
Oh no, I didn't either. Right? I was like, let's not worry about
I
it.
know.
Yeah, it's like, I have enough issues here. So
It's
yeah.
like why I want to see that's I mean you're not gonna be able to get that in a quick 30-second clip on the Switch, but I'm one of these days I'm gonna try to just look and see if anybody has actually made it all the way through. I'm sure there probably has been, and
Oh
I want to
man,
sit back and watch someone just progress through the entire game without dying at all like
that
that.
would be
Yeah.
that would be amazing. It's really true. That would be awesome to see. Oh man, I don't want to break my Switch. I
Right.
really am like, yeah, I was at a point where I was like, I have to put this game down because I'm too angry right
Yeah.
now at my Switch and I shouldn't be. So yeah, that's right. This is $300. So
Right.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh
Oh,
man. So yeah,
awesome.
is there any I mean other than a little bit of the control stuff with the special weapons and everything, any other negatives at all that you encountered?
Oh man. Yeah, no, not really. I was just thinking about the music of it too, and I was
Oh
like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
actually, I think I do like it. I was trying to remember what it was, but I think it was kind of like this eerie kind of like sound a little bit that just kind of flows with the
Hmm.
whole thing. So I also
Yeah,
was like, that's an intriguing thing.
it is. It's
Yeah.
it's kind of eerie, but then it has some like industrial kind of
Oh yeah, that's
rock
right. Yeah.
ish sort of things at different times.
Ooh, it's deeper than I thought.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I think, unfortunately, I think when games do their music really well, I tend to actually forget about it because it just flows so well. And I
Yeah,
think that
that's
this is one of
right.
those games that I forgot to even mention the music because
Oh
it just
yeah.
flows and it was just there. It fit. It didn't stand
Yeah.
out to like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they used this kind of soundtrack. It
Mm.
flowed all, all the stuff just flowed really well together.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. I think that's true. Yeah, otherwise I don't think I had too many like negatives about this game really. I really would recommend people checking it out, especially for the price point. I think it's like $20, something like that, I'm betting.
Yeah, yeah, I think
But
so. It's
yeah,
let me see if I can look it up
yeah.
real quick. 14.99 actually.
Fourteen
So
ninety nine. Oh
yeah,
wow. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, yeah. So if you can get it for that, or if it goes on sale someday, and you're just like, yeah, I want a nice twin stick shooter, yeah, exploring hacker game that you want to play.
yeah,
This is a good one for that for
yeah,
sure. Yeah.
definitely. So cool. Well, thanks so much for joining me today, Blake.
Yeah.
And
You bet, Steve.
Yeah, and thank all you guys for checking out our game chat all about Rive Ultimate Edition. If you are new to the channel, make sure you do subscribe and hit the bell for alerts whenever we post new videos. We post videos all the time about game chats, like these kind of discussion reviews. We post industry talk, which we have interviews with people in the industry, the gaming industry. We have a monthly podcast we just put out not too long ago, our best of 2017 games. So if you haven't checked that out, make sure you do. And make sure you share it with your friends and everything too. If you like what you see and hear, and want other people to enjoy the Nintendo goodness that we're putting out here on Nintendo Fuse, make sure you share it with them. Thanks again, Blake. And
thank you, Steve. Thanks, everybody.
We'll see how we do on the leaderboards on Rive.
Hey, there you go. Keep working. Keep working. Yeah. Don't give up.
See ya.
See you guys.